is what will it mean for them? The Chancellor, Sajid Javid, is obviously confident, but not everybody is sold. Minnie Stevenson reports from Walsall on the uncertainty felt by many business leaders over what exactly they will face if the deal goes through.
This family manufacturing business in the West Midlands makes household fixtures and fittings. Trading since 1868, they know all about playing the long game. But while there was much noise of a Brexit breakthrough, a lack of progress in Parliament has taken the sheen off Boris Johnson's deal on the factory floor.
Well, I think this morning it is quite typical of previous Monday mornings where there's no real movement forward. It's a feeling of frustration. We got to kind of Super Saturday where everybody said, OK, this is the key day, we're going to move on now. And more frustration. We look at Parliament for somebody will lead by example, somebody will build confidence in the country, providing kind of, a stability that we can work with, and that's just not what we're getting.
For businesses, the vast majority of the new 600-page deal is very similar to Theresa May's, but under closer inspection there are key differences which continue to emerge. The previous agreements to pay the £33 billion EU divorce bill and guarantee of citizens' rights stay under Boris Johnson's deal. And while there will be no customs checks at the Irish border, instead, goods arriving in Northern Ireland will require customs forms and may have duty charged in case they are moved onto the Republic of Ireland. And in a blow to business, today it emerged in a government hearing that the same rule would apply for companies in Northern Ireland sending goods to the rest of the UK. Something that seemed to confuse even the Brexit secretary.
If they're moving goods to Northern Ireland, they're not exporting.
From Northern Ireland to Great Britain.
From Northern Ireland to Great Britain, no. Just to be clear, the exit summary declarations will be required in terms of Northern Ireland to GB.
So that's more red tape in both directions then. Now, of course, if Boris Johnson's deal does pass, then for businesses like this who trade with Northern Ireland, they could face a new, costly and complicated customs process just to get their goods into Northern Ireland. So while the vast majority of businesses may have welcomed this new deal based on the principle that any agreement is better than no deal, it seems to be this increased red tape and the lack of certainty about what the trade deal will look like at the end of that transition period in 2020, which is still leaving many feeling unhappy.
The withdrawal agreement is just that. It doesn't solve the problems going forward of fleshing out a new economic relationship with Europe. And even if we're talking a limited free trade agreement of the Canada-EU variety, bear in mind that agreement took 8 years to negotiate, and a trade agreement between the European Union and Japan, which may be of a similar scope that we're contemplating, it took 9 years.
Of course, the government argues there is time to secure a trade deal with the EU, avoiding a cliff edge in 2020. But there's tension over the regulations businesses will follow in the future. In Boris Johnson's agreement, keeping rules in line with Europe is an ambition, not a legal requirement, with some critics feeling standards will be eroded. Meanwhile, minutiae aside, many here are suffering from Brexit fatigue.
We should be out of it by now. Instead of keep dragging it on and dragging it on, what they're playing at? What we're paying them for? Just sitting on the back sides.
I feel let down again by MPs, big style.
Oh my God, I just want it to all end. When is it going to all end?
Life or Brexit?
Brexit.
Okay. And that's just how business is feeling too. Desperate for certainty, something which is still in short supply.
Minister Stevenson there. Well, we're now joined by Francis O'Grady, the General Secretary of the TUC, and by Mark Littlewood of the free market think tank, the Institute of Economic Affairs, which has been arguing for lower taxes and fewer regulations for decades. Welcome to you both. Let me start with you, Mark. I mean, a bit odd, isn't it? The Chancellor of the Exchequer, the man in charge of the money, saying we don't need an impact assessment because we have no need for it, because we know about the benefits